hoping that one day will come. What have you learned about procrastination through your research when you were writing the book that has helped people break that cycle? Because it seems to apply to so many of our lives.
I mean, the thing about it is this, I always like to be like very extreme in examples, because if we can go extreme, then it makes a lot of sense. But I always tell people like, and I always say it like, hey, I've given this when I used to give a lot of speeches. I would be in front of people and I'd say, hey, what's the chance of you making $1 million this year? Give me numbers. And everyone's like 0%, 0%, 0%, 1%. There's always 1%. It's like 5. And that's like the most it'll get to. And I said, okay, I'm gonna give you the most extreme example, but I just wanna see what happens, okay? What's the percentage chance of you making $1 million this year legally? And if you don't, everyone that you love dies. And everyone's like 100%, 100%, 1,000, 1,000%. I said, what changed? The goal didn't change. The time frame didn't change. Why you're doing it changed. Would you wake up in the morning if everyone that you love's life depended on it and be like, yeah, well, maybe I should scroll on TikTok for a little while? No, you'd be like, I'm gonna take action immediately. And so it doesn't need to be like a fear of losing everybody, but what's really behind that is like, why? Like why they're doing it. Like if I give a reflection of anyone who doesn't know Jay, like you're one of the hardest working people I've ever met, but you have a really strong why, right? And that's like one of the best parts about it, where it's like, when I see Jay, I'm like, this guy he has this internal feeling of like, I want to change the world. And you work so hard trying to do it. And that's one of the most beautiful things about you, is like you're wanting to change the world and you have a really strong why to it. And I think that if most people could figure out like, oh yeah, well, I want to do this thing. Why do you want to do it? And my very first one-on-one coach used to say to me, he would say, what's your why? What's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? He would like hammer it home in my head. And I was like, why do you ask this so much? And he would always say, because if your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself. If you know why you want to do something, how it's going to be done, you'll figure out. It doesn't matter. Things are going to get in your way. There's going to be obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be moments of like, I don't know if I can do this. But if your why is so strong, it's like, I don't care what comes up in front of me. I'm going to get it done. Like most people, they want to be motivated. And I have come to hate the word motivation, because motivation's so fleeting. Like we can wake up and we can listen to a podcast where we can get, read something and be motivated. And then something can happen to us and it's gone. It just disappears. What I want to be is I want to be driven. Like when you see a driven person, like you see it in their eyes, like, yeah, they're not stopping. And the difference between a motivated person and a driven person is that the driven person has this why that they want to see have happen in the world or in their life or for their family. And so I think if people are like, I want to accomplish this goal, the very next question is why? And then go why, and go deeper into it. An example I give in the book is I had a coaching client years ago, like 8-9 years ago. And he was like, Rob, I want to make $100,000 this year. I've never made it. And I was like, why? And I took him through what's called 7 levels of why. Just keep asking why. And it went from, I want to make $100,000 this year because I've never done it before, to the eventual thing was he had just got into a divorce a couple years ago. Both of his young children lived in a bad part of town with his ex-wife. He wanted to regain custody because he was afraid that both of his children would be killed in a drive-by. And he was so terrified of it that was his actual true why. And so it wasn't, the motivation, I didn't have to talk to him and say, hey, how close you'd make $100,000 this year? I said, hey, how close are you to providing more safety for your children this year? Because he wanted them to move in with him. He wanted to be able to provide for them and to make sure that they were safe. And so I think that if we just ask ourselves, why do I truly want to accomplish this goal? It kind of reveals itself and it makes it a lot easier to take the action.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I appreciate all the kind words, but I can definitely say the only thing that's kept me going is my why, because I think there are so many things that either make you want to give up or slow down or become lazy or complacent. And when I look at it, and someone asked me this, I was sitting with another creator end of last year, and he was just like to me, Jay, why do you even do anything anymore? Like, what's the point? Like, it seems like you're good. Like, why do you need to do anything? And I was like, we've just got to the start of everything. Like, I just got to the beginning of where I need to be. I was like, we've just got to a point where we can connect with lots of people, but we need to give people the step-by-step process to transform their life. And now we can take them on the journey because people are listening, they're engaged, we have a community, we have a connection with people. But when I started out, we didn't have any of that. So I see it as we just got to the start of where I want to be, because And it was just interesting to me that so many people struggle to find their why. And I think it's because and you just said your coach helped you do it. It was the same with me. My art teacher from age 11 to age 18, he was my art teacher at school. And every time I'd paint something or draw something or do a collage or a graphic design, and whatever I'd do, the first question he'd ask me is, why did you do it? And I'd be like, my initial response is because it looks good. Like that, I was a kid, what do I know? And he'd be like, every year he'd be like, why did you do it? And I'd be like, oh, because this color matches with this color. And then be like, why do you do it? And I'm like, oh, because it reveals the metaphor that I think this is about. And then he'd be like, why did you do it? And I'm like, because that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm trying to, and every year he would ask me, it would reveal more and more layers of my psyche in a similar way. And again, I've owed it to someone in my life who pushed me to ask the question why, same as you. And so I think what we're both saying is, please ask that question to yourself. But what if someone asks that question and they feel stuck and they kind of go, I've asked it, but it's kind of just like, I just want a nice house. Like I just want a nice car. I just kind of want to, it's not that deep. And I think you're right. Like